Well, Mr. Bodnar, Poland's human rights ombudsman, joins us live from Warsaw now. Mr. Bodnar, you've had a few hours to come to terms with this ruling. Can you bring us your initial reaction and, of course, what happens next?
Thank you very much for inviting me. My initial reaction means that this ruling is a distraction of the independent office of the ombudsman in Poland. Because it was always a constitutional tradition and it is provided in law that as long as the new person, new ombudsman is elected, the preceding one is still in this function. And that is the reason why I'm still in my shoes as the ombudsman. And the Constitutional Court with this verdict has broken with this rule, which means that it opens the way to fill in the office with somebody who is loyal to the ruling camp. So one more institution that was independent is going to be taken over by the ruling party in Poland.
The government, however, says that because of the deadlock in deciding who should replace you, your term had finished towards the end of last year, because they couldn't decide on and bring someone in that could replace you that everybody agreed upon, you could effectively be in this position until you retire. So they had to do something to remove you.
That's an absurd argumentation because simply the parliament didn't perform properly its function to select the new ombudsman. And why is it so? Because the ruling party for the first time has proposed the MP from the ruling party to become the ombudsman. And you can imagine that being an MP is not a guarantee for being later on an independent from the government ombudsman. And right now there is a second candidate who is also MP from the ruling party. So there is no doubt why the opposition does not want to agree on this. And the Polish constitution simply provides that the election of the ombudsman requires consent of two chambers of the parliament. And the lower chamber is controlled by the ruling party, the upper chamber by the opposition. So this judgment is simply a way to circumvent constitutional regulation, just to remove me from the office and to put somebody who would be a servant of the ruling party.
Because you talk about this idea of having someone who's politicised be brought in. You yourself have been very critical of the government on various different aspects, and the government say that you have been too politicised. What do you say to that?
First of all, I was never a member of any political party. I was never affiliated with any political movement. I was always human rights activist. I have many great friends all around the world who are passionate human rights defenders. And that was my career before I became the ombudsman. And during my term, simply I tried to be loyal to the constitution, to the rule of law, to freedom of speech. And I tried to do everything what was possible in my capacity to fight for rights of different groups that were vulnerable, but also all those who were victims of those rule of law changes in Poland. And simply, when you see the process in Poland of moving Poland from a democratic state towards some kind of a illiberal or hybrid democracy, then the government, the ruling party, does not like anybody who is critical towards this, anybody who would undertake some legal actions and who has the power and strength to do it. And so it was not a political action, it was my very fierce defense of constitutional rights of Polish people.
And just briefly, because we're running out of time, but what happens next then? What's your understanding of the situation in terms of your position?
So I will still serve for 3 months, but during this time I have restricted myself in my functions. It's quite a complicated issue from the point of view of constitutional law, but basically I cannot do everything what I should do. And in the meantime, either the new ombudsman is elected by the parliament, or the parliament will try to adopt the law, the statutory law, that would fill in the office of the ombudsman with something like somebody like an acting ombudsman. And that kind of a person could be, for example, nominated just by, let's say, president or by the lower chamber of the parliament. And in this way, this office will be taken over by the ruling camp. So that is what we can expect over next month. And basically it should not happen because the current regulation is giving a chance for 2 chambers of parliament to decide on the issue. And that's why it requires compromise. This judgment is breaking this compromise.
OK, Adam Bodnar, thanks so much for giving us your reaction to that Constitutional Court ruling. Many thanks for your time.